All right, I'm recording.
I'm recording.
We didn't do this last year. We recorded at the table.
Oh my God, you're right.
Yeah. So we'll see how this turns out.
Me too. I was just about to get up and get water, so now I feel bad.
Oh,
now you're gonna sit here.
Son of a...
No, you gotta sit here. But now, see, okay, so I'm gonna get up and get water, but you have to still entertain.
I'll have to do edit hours.
So you're gonna have to, I don't know, monologue it. Give me some Hamlet. Maybe a little.
Turby.
Yeah.
Or not Turby.
What's up, everybody? I'm Richard.
And I'm Shawn.
And we're speaking the language of bromance. Shawn, I'm trying on a different voice today. Do you know why?
I'm trying to figure it out, but I just don't really know what you're doing, and it's starting to make me question things, and I just doing my best.
I like that. I think you're doing the same thing. Wait a minute. Oh God, I had a bit. No, you damn it. Anyway, Shawn, what are we doing today?
Oh, well, we were invited back to Big River ComiCon 2022, and we've got our second panel that we did. And Richard, this was one that you kind of took lead on. And I think, you always talk about wanting to be the interviewer. Like, you talk about other podcasters, how you just you really want to figure out the art of interviewing. And this person that we interviewed, that we did on this panel, Richard, I think he was pretty impressed.
I felt bad because I felt like I kind of talked my head off, and I kept going like, are you? And you're like, no, you're fine. You're fine. I was like, are you sure? Are you sure? Like, I'm glad there isn't video, because I'm sure there's definitely video of me, but like, sorry. Yeah.
So who was our second panel?
So for our second panel, we got to sit down and have a talk with Austin Tindle. And if you don't know who Austin Tindle is, and if you watch any English overdubbed anime, you'll recognize his voice from shows like Tokyo Ghoul or Attack on Titan or My Hero Academia. Oh God, Assassination Classroom, Dragon Ball Z. A lot of shows, but yeah, I guess I name the big ones because those are the ones that like people's ears perk up on.
Yeah, it was a fun interview. Like, I love sitting there watching, because you could see like he does a lot of cons. And I think just the kind of his interaction, he was expecting like very softball style questions, like, so what's your favorite anime? So
sure.
What's your favorite character?
That at one point.
Yeah. But I think he was pretty impressed, because again, like, whenever we do these, we really like to dive into like, how did you become the person that you are? Because, outside of that kind of thing, like, what's your favorite anime? You could type that in and find tons of, interviews where that question's asked.
I think also, well, with this, I think kind of the objective that I had in mind was that, a lot of kids that come to a con, especially a con like this, that, there isn't really a bigger kind of con in, let's say like a 60, 90 mile radius. And so, maybe there's kids that are not just into, anime, but, maybe some that are genuinely interested in acting and performance. And I guess that, I just kind of wanted to give them a peek behind the curtain as to what that is like. What is even, yeah, because at one point, and I think he even says this at one point, he's like, "Oh, it's just it's just speaking what somebody else has already said." But it's not just that. That there are, there's a reason that they're called voice actors and not voice copiers. You know what I mean? And so I guess I kind of wanted the audience and our listeners, I want them to understand that that it's not just I'm going to say this line, that there are subtleties to performance, and that you know people that do this have an understanding of what it means to do performance and things that entails. So anyway, I feel like I'm giving too much away. Play the thing. Play the thing.
Right. Yeah, so from our Big River Comic Con 2022, our last panel from this year, we have Austin Tindle.
I don't even know if I can name them all. Well, I know I can't name them all. Okay. Tokyo Ghoul, My Hero Academia.
Yeah.
All.
Yeah. What else? Name one other.
You name
one
one
other.
No, I don't know.
I feel like we're behind the
Attack on Titan.
speakers. Attack on Titan. There you go.
Yeah. See?
Did you look at notes?
No. These are questions. These aren't notes.
All right.
What, do you think I have like your IMDb on here? I don't.
We have
I
a
lied.
big
I do.
You just have the link written out.
Guys, it's Austin Tindle. Give him a round of applause.
We'll have you doing that throughout this Q&A.
Intro ran a little long, but that's fine. Okay, so as you can see, like I said, I have a list of questions. But first, I guess I just want to, if you want to go with, a backstory or, like your hero origins from cradle to stage, if you will.
I remember a blinding light and an intense pressure,
Yeah.
and then a release. My father cuts the cord.
Phase
That's a
2.
vivid memory.
I used to watch The Office every night before I went to sleep, and then they took it off Netflix. So I started watching Star Trek: The Next Generation because anytime people are talking in that show, there's a dull hum. It's like a nice white noise.
Yeah.
It's conducive to sleeping. And also, I remember being a child and it being too late for me to stay up and watch that show. So I have to go to sleep in my bedroom while it's being played in the living room.
Right.
Well, they took that off of Netflix too.
Yeah.
Just recently.
Yeah, I was at. It wasn't that long ago. So.
And I my house is a Google house, so I just I'm like, hey, Google, play Star Trek: The Next Generation, and it was just no.
You're like, what do you mean no?
One day, it just said no.
You still have to unlock your device.
See,
She's lying.
she's a fickle wench.
Sorry, what was your question?
No, I was just so. I know that originally, when you were going to college, not intending.
I went on a full academic scholarship for
Right.
electrical engineering
Yeah.
at UTD, which is a very renowned engineering college. In my senior year, I changed majors to the closest thing they had to an arts degree, which was called Arts and Performance, and it was like a make your own degree. So I got 18 hours of credit for doing 3 independent study classes, which I negotiated with the counselor, because I was trying to get out at the last minute.
Like blackjack. It's like,
So I was there on academic scholarship for 4 years, and after that I had to pay for college. So it was towards the end of that 4th year, I'd been doing so much theater and so little actual engineering that I had more credits, because I could do whatever I wanted
Sure.
for those 4 years. But I had less credits to finish as an arts major than I would have as an engineering major in this engineering college, which barely had a degree. So again, I convinced them to let me do 3 different classes of independent study as a writer, director, and actor, and then I wrote a one-man show and performed it.
What was
3 different.
What was the one-man show called? What was the title?
I don't don't even remember.
You can look on your IMDb. That's fine.
I did not. No, this was before Facebook.
Oh, okay.
That's
Okay.
how old I am.
Back in the before time. Back in the long
Facebook
ago.
started in my like junior year of college.
Okay.
And at that point, it was only specific colleges that were allowed to be a part of it.
Oh.
I did have a MySpace account.
Yeah, you had a .edu to get on Facebook.
Yeah. That's how I found out about my illegitimate half-sister.
Scandalous.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm so bored.
We're just going down the rabbit hole. So okay, so you're like, electrical engineering, that's not for me. I'm
Yeah, I got cast as Romeo in Romeo and Juliet with the Classical Acting Company in Dallas, and I was like, I wanted to be a movie star, I wanted to be
yeah.
Matt Damon.
You're like Claire
My
Danes.
mom wanted me to be Matt Damon too. She's still confused that I'm not. She thinks it's my fault.
I mean, is it?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so going. So I guess what's the transition saying? Because you're performing on stages and you're doing theater productions. Where does voice?
Well, you live in Dallas. You eventually get an agent. The agent just throws you at anything that'll stick. This was in like 2008. Funimation was still kind of doing open casting calls, so every once in a while they would go to the agencies and be like, "What have you got?" So I was in some open casting calls with Funimation through an agency. I also knew people that worked there because I'd just been in the community for so long.
Yeah,
real actors are going to do whatever they can to act.
Yeah.
And people want to hire actors who are like that. So if you're like, I want to be a voice actor, just go be an actual actor and try to love it as much as the people that are already doing it. I was at the right time in the right place. I was also prepared for the opportunity, which is important.
Yeah. You were ready to shoot your shot when the opportunity. arose.
I was working consistently on the stage, which was like flexing those muscles, and it allowed me to be able to like give them what they needed, which is how I quickly kind of got into very, emotionally taxing characters.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of vocally. Oh, that's awesome.
That is
That's a
awesome.
good concept.
That is nice. I like that. So you go from you're with Funimation. Is it strictly anime, or is it have you wanted to transition into?
I want to be Bryan Cranston. All right, I want to be the next Breaking Bad. When I hit 45, I'm going to be the star of some AMC.
Oh, I thought you wanted to make meth.
No.
Oh, okay.
No. I'm not going to relive my past. Moving forward. No, I just want to pretend that I'm making meth for lots of money and fame and, acclaim. No, I want to be on camera more. But this is why I'm here.
Yeah.
It's anime. You're welcome.
And I know. How are you enjoying the con so far?
I love it. This is my favorite con that I've ever been to.
That's the right answer. See?
Yeah, write it down. Advertise it.
Put it on a billboard.
I said it. I said those words.
And then pay
Legally,
him.
I won't sue you for defamation.
So in other interviews, I've heard you give a lot of credit to like cons and fans because you said it gives me more time to think about being an actor or be in that headspace of being an actor.
Have I said that?
You have said that. You have said that. So I guess to kind of narrow it down, is there something you feel specifically that cons in general or fans in general have helped in your performance, in any performance?
For sure, yeah. Validation. I think the fan support, the community that's been created is what has allowed this thing to thrive, and is convinced companies like Sony to invest money in continuing to make products like this and to distribute them more effectively. So the fan support is a huge part of that, and that's like an honor and a joy to be the kind of representative of a lot of that praise.
Yeah.
Just getting to be at the table and receive a lot of praise for things that I actually have little responsibility for making better. Most of what makes these animes amazing has little to do with me. I just additionally dialogue recorded.
You feel like you're the gravy on the mashed potatoes. That is, you're like, I add a little bit.
I'm glorified subtitles. If you love this show, it's because it's a good story. And my job is to not distract or screw up the original performance. So it's like the difference between being a touring band or a studio musician.
Sure.
Like, the song's been written, I didn't write it, but it's my job to play it truthfully.
Sure. Do you listen to the original performance?
Yes.
Before? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then so when you do that, do you try to mimic do you try to mimic the original performance, or is it more like I think I can add something here?
No, because adding something is like screwing up the recipe. It's translating it to American intonation, and so it's not just you're changing the words that are being said, but also the vocal intonation is different when you're trying to express things. Like, for instance, in Japan, you can hear, often in animes, you hear people go, huh? Americans never do that.
Right.
So an American version of that would be like, oh. It's the exact opposite pitch jump.
Sure.
Maneuver. So a lot of the job is just recognizing what the intention is, and then giving an interpreted, culturally appropriate, based on America's ear interpretation of that.
You're Americanizing and the original performance.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know if anybody out here wants to be a voice actor or is aspiring to be, but I know that don't. It's fine. Sometimes you get to. Sometimes you get to sit on.
Take my job. You take my job for me? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Come for the king.
Sorry, what were you gonna say?
No, you've referred to Kristen Linklater. In terms of performance.
Man, you did your research.
I
Holy
did.
crap.
I tried.
Holy moly, this is awesome.
So she talks about finding the voice behind the person, and gives examples of exercises and things people can do in order to find the voice. Yeah. So tuning into it. So I guess for anybody that does want to be an aspiring voice actor, is there, through that prism, is there maybe something that, like exercises that they could do at home, or things to help maybe push them along?
Yes. Holy man, you're blowing my mind.
You're welcome.
Wow. Okay, good job, guys.
I tried.
There's a ton of stuff you can do if you're trying to voice act at home, especially. A lot of people think that means that they don't have to involve their body. There's a lot of people who talk to me about how they believe they're good actors, but they don't want to be actors, they want to be voice actors. because of maybe social anxiety, maybe anxiety about involving your physicality in your performance. But the deal is, like, you can't get away from the fact that your voice lives inside of your entire body. You have to be checked in with your body as a whole to be the best version of yourself vocally. So 100%, there's a bunch of exercises that you can do. Kristen Linklater, you can go Google Kristen Linklater and go to the video section, and she's got some crazy exercises that are going to seem stupid and annoying, but the older I get and the more I do this on a regular basis, the more I recognize the value of them. There's a lot of things called touch of sound, or there's a thing called the vowel tree, and they seem like weird, silly exercises, it's about opening up your vocal register, about recognizing how different vowel sounds live in different parts of your body, and recognizing within yourself the places of, we all have a roadmap of trauma that dictates our back pain. There's different parts of your body that you have unconsciously trained yourself to inhabit emotions in. Shame is a place where suddenly, your muscles, the muscle memory is inside of you, so that it's very easy for us to try to unconsciously repress those emotions. And a lot of what Kristen Linklater is about is addressing where your body's at and what is restricting you from impulse. Because anybody that really wants to be an actor, at the heart of it, you want to play just like you did as a kid. And kids can inhabit those different emotional ranges without thinking about it because they haven't trained their body to repress impulse. So if there's a quick thing that I could say is, if you're trying to record something and you're feeling difficulty getting to an emotional place, instead of trying to be upset, instead of trying to be sad or trying to be angry, check in with your body and try to align start with your feet, put your feet underneath your shoulders, align them in a way where you feel the two balls of your feet on either side of where your foot is, and the heel of your foot makes a tripod. Put the two tripods on the ground, try to give even weight on those two tripods, stack those under your hips, under your shoulders, and put air in your knees, give yourself a feeling of an upward movement with the crown of your head, and just check into being able to stack your bones and relax your muscles as best you can. And the more that you can get into a Zen state where you absolutely do not have to hold on to tension, the better it's going to be to suddenly have an emotional response to stimulus, which is what we do anytime we play in an acting environment.
See, and you thought it was like, oh, I just voice subtitles.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's why I'm here. No, I'm a brilliant actor, and I know a lot about it. I'm very passionate about it. But some of the best work that I've ever done, you'll never see, because it happened on stage years ago.
So you talk about that passion from acting, like you go to school as an engineer. What, have you always had that passion for acting and wanting to be in films and that kind of work, or did something change?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was a dramatic child. I was a wayward youth, I started the 9th grade late, and when I showed up at this new school, they were like, all the classes are filled for your electives, so you can. It was like either art or theater, so I chose theater. It was a very small school, so I got a lot of attention. And then it just kind of spiraled out of control from there. I would say that after a certain amount of training in my early 20s, I do, especially now, actively look at it as a form of self-care. Theater, therapy, theology, they all have a similar, root prefix, and we can't actively say that is directly the result of like the Greek root word theos, meaning God, which could also be considered self-exploration. These are academically, I can't say that that's exactly what that means, but there's inherent value in this concept of the art of acting that I think speaks to, like, you could argue it's the earliest, oldest, and most important profession, because in the heart of what we do as actors, there's a ritual and there's a tradition, and this is in the same vein of religious exercises that get carried out, and in this exercise of us coming together in a communion and enacting things in front of each other. That's at the heart of what developed culture and civilization.
That's exactly.
So I have the most important job in the world.
Yeah.
So that's I guess I also want to kind of follow up on that. So you're in college for engineering, right? Like you're going to be like, I'm going to go work 9 to 5. I'm going to go into that kind of job. That's kind of like the safe route, right? Like you get an engineering degree from there, you're able to probably work anywhere, make decent living. But then you said, no, I'm going to take this acting and that's what I'm going to do. Was there a moment that made you say, never mind, I don't want to do this engineering thing anymore. I'm actually going to go all in on acting?
Yeah, I mean, it was always kind of there. I have a very wonderful mother who pushed me all the right directions, and she was the one that convinced me to get into engineering, because she figured out when I took the SATs like 4 times, and she figured out that right at the year when I was like about to be going into college, Texas got this huge grant for electrical engineering, and so I took the SATs multiple times, and there's always a survey that you take when you're doing the SATs, which they say doesn't mean anything, but it does. And she was like, look, take the survey, say you want to be an electrical engineer. And we did this enough times, and the state of Texas sent me like an invitation to go to UTD, and that's how we paid for college.
Game in the system.
Yeah, my mom is a brilliant person. So I was never like passionate about engineering. I was good at math. I was very passionate about especially discrete mathematics was really interesting to me. And I think I started at a young age with a passion for arithmetic and
Passion for arithmetic.
Yeah, and then I was very good at calculus, because you can cheat the system with calculus, because there's so many different ways to solve whatever the problem is supposed to be, so you don't really have to pay attention to what your teacher's trying to teach you. But I failed statistics because I never went to the class, I didn't understand the equations, and I didn't want to.
I was never that great. Yeah, I wasn't the greatest statistic. It was always a case of like, oh, just plug this. They were like, oh, all you gotta do is just figure out these numbers and you plug them in, and I'm like, no, that doesn't. If I don't have to memorize formulas, then it doesn't really feel like math.
Yeah, statistics is garbage math for garbage people that just want to gamble.
Apologies to any statistics professors in the crowd.
It's the math of the devil. It's filled with sin.
So the difference between performance on a stage and performance in a booth, I'm sure, are super similar. I'm sure the process is similar in terms of, you're seeing something, you're saying, okay, what is happening here? What is the emotion that I need to get across? But it seems like with what you do, you have very little prep time in terms of being able to do that.
Correct.
So how are you able to rapid fire? Okay, this is the intention I need to get across. This is how I need to
this is how I need my cadence to be. This is how I need my performance to be.
And I would say that this circles back to a lot of the things that I promote, like a lot of Linklater technique. Kristen Linklater's technique is about freeing the natural voice and about being present, sensitive, and aware, and flexible. Mm-hmm. So when I was a younger actor, I was like really invested in trying to get in the moment. I did a lot of theater where you have to reenact the same dramatic scene over and over every single night for 6 weeks and then perform it for 8 weeks. I would get really into trying to just force myself into that place. But the older I get, the more invested I get into this as a career, the more I recognize the value of just being flexible. And it's like, okay, I think I feel like this is something that most people have experienced, where you're alone in your bedroom, you're about to go to sleep, and you replay something that happened that day. Or maybe you imagine how a conversation could go. Or you remember something that happened to you. And because you're alone in your bed and you're safe and vulnerable, without even trying, suddenly you are transported into that moment and you feel the full weight of those emotions. Maybe you've even cried at the memory of something. That just shows how capable our instruments are at being manipulated by impulse. So in that same regard, if you can learn how to be a vulnerable person and feel that safety of aloneness, public solitude, it takes out some of the guesswork. Now, all roads lead to Mecca. If you sound like the thing, you look like the thing, you get the job, then you did it. And there's that school of acting.
Sure.
I personally, I've never been very motivated by Meisner style techniques of emotional manipulation, sense memory.
Right.
I'm going to remember another tragic event and that's going to make me cry right now. I think ultimately, in the best of all possible worlds, you fully engross yourself in the moment.
Yeah.
And we can't always get there, so we have to cheat sometimes. And so, for instance, trying to force yourself to cry on stage or on camera is annoying to look at. What's much more interesting is playing the objective of trying to not cry. Then you don't actually have to squeeze anything out, and it's a lot more compelling. You know what I mean? It's so much easier to
Stop. Don't.
It's so much easier to get a point across. Do you know what I'm trying to say? It's just so boring.
Yeah, you can clap for that. Yeah, I've heard you say that sometimes before you go into a performance, that you'll start touching things. That you say you get very tactile.
Tactile is
Yes.
the word, yeah. Yes, consensually. No, yeah. I try to, I've said that, I try to engage my senses in a moment when if I'm about to get into my head, if I start thinking and criticizing myself, it's very easy when you're in a performance to suddenly dissociate and go, oh God, I'm doing terribly. Look at myself. What am I? Oh, I'm supposed to say words next. And then before you know it, you're spending all of this mental capacity judging yourself. And so I try the best of my ability to distract that part of my brain by noticing things that are happening in the moment. Trying my best as I can to be in the present moment. And and the thing is, you always have to, if you're an actor, you always have to address where you're at, whether you're about to film a commercial for a car or you're playing, King Lear. You have to recognize where you're at that day before you can then also accomplish the goal of the character. And what's great is when you recognize where you're at, and then also add on, like, my character has a fear of abandonment, and they need to, in this scene, go ask someone for a bottle of water. Now all of a sudden you have a roadmap, without thinking about it, of vocal quality. And the other great thing that Linklater teaches, and Tina Packer, I recommend anyone, if you have a month of free time, go to Shakespeare Company in Lenox, Massachusetts, and spend a month at their month-long intensive. They talk about dropping in, and there's this whole philosophy behind just engaging your subconscious psyche to how you respond to words and letting that inform how you say lines, as opposed to this. So many people think that it's an academic thing to go, oh, my character's upset, so I'm going to decide to do these things, as opposed to just tricking yourself, shoving yourself in there, giving yourself an unconscious association with those words, and then letting the words come out. It ends up being more compelling for storytelling, because the story structure's there. The characters do the things that they do. We're getting real.
I was gonna say, like, if anybody,
what's your favorite anime?
What we gotta do is just put this in a master class, and then it'll be, and then put it on the internet, and then we got an extra source of income.
Look, if somebody wants to help, monetize this, I would be grateful.
Have there been recurring characters that you have done that, as time has gone on, your performance of them has changed and evolved? And
totally. Wow, man, you guys this is great. Yes. Specifically, there's a character named Accelerator. There's a show called A Certain Magical Index, and then it had a spin-off show called A Certain Scientific Railgun.
Yeah.
Where it's like the same story told from a different perspective, and I'm the villain throughout that. And then a third show comes out called A Certain Scientific Accelerator, which is about the villain. By the time that came out, like, my just natural speaking voice sounded completely different. And what I wanted to do with the character was different. So you can hear a huge difference between his spin-off voice and what he sounds like in the first season of Railgun or Index.
okay,
So I hate that character now.
Why?
Because he ruined my voice. There's this one episode in Railgun Season 3 where he's like, open throat screaming is one thing, Tokyo Ghoul style, like, I'm dying, all that's open throat. But he has these monologues where he's screaming and he's hurting his, I don't know. I want to, what I would love to sit down with that Seiyu and be like, what the hell, man? What is going on with you? Can you still speak? Because there's so much exposition that happens during the screaming. So all, like, you make sounds with these two, like, tiny muscular flaps.
Yeah.
And the amount of stretching back and forth that has to happen while you're trying to, at the top of your lungs, scream to the heavens about your plans for what's going to happen the next few episodes. There was a moment, you can hear it in a certain episode, where I broke, and I have nodules now, and, like, there are doctors who would try to convince me that I should get surgery to remove the nodules in my... But I'm just going to try to Richard Harrison, I'm just really going to age this voice. That's my goal.
I mean, doctors.
I'm going to age it hardcore until I'm, like, early 40s, and then I'm just going to try to, stay looking like that for the next 40 years, you know what I mean? Like Patrick Stewart.
Yeah.
Like, he got old quick, and then he just stayed the same
old
for a
forever.
really long time.
And he got knighted, so, I mean, it's not a bad plan.
Bryan Cranston started off doing well, I mean, one of the things he did before he got more popular was voice acting for Power Rangers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Voice of. You don't know?
Yeah.
Zordon.
Yeah.
No, he was not.
Well, he was Zordon in the movie.
No, he wasn't. Was he?
He was.
Am I
Zordon?
wrong?
No, Bryan Cranston was not Zordon in the movie.
In the new one, right?
Oh,
See?
shit. Uh-oh. Oops.
School me on Power Rangers.
I'm sorry, I don't know anything.
I think at this
Open up the door.
I was thinking at this point, like if you guys in the audience have any questions, like again, I don't have a microphone to bring out to you, so I'm probably just if you just want to like put your hand up, I can just pick and you can just shout them out. Oh, we got one here.
Favorite character that I voiced or just ever? That I voiced? They're all my babies. Subaru from My Roommate is a Cat. I'd love to do that voice again because it requires very little vocal effort. In the back.
Yeah.
Thank you. Nice. I got represented by a local talent agency that had connections with Funimation, and that's how I got my first audition, is through the talent agency. And that was at a time when they were kind of like actively looking for people. Nowadays, I mean, don't quote me on this, but if you really want to get in, you gotta move to Dallas and then like be in a play with one of the directors. Yeah, I'm not gonna name names, but there are certain directors that do local theater, and if you get in big with one of them, then you'll get a shot. In terms of like submitting online, I don't know, man. You got to get representation, and it's gotten even more vicious now because since the pandemic, like remote recording is a thing. So now you're not just competing with people near you; you're competing with a lot of LA actors. And the funny thing about companies in LA is all the companies here in Texas are okay with working with LA actors. Companies in LA do not want to cast people outside of LA. So like they're taking art terms, but we're not getting more like Bang Zoom doesn't want to work with me because I don't live in California. Don't record. God, never mind. I don't know. Good luck.
But the important thing, he's not bitter, folks. That's the thing.
I am bitter.
Somebody asked earlier, like, favorite character that you've done, and then you were asking favorite character ever. So do you have what favorite character ever? Like, that you have or have not
in
done?
all of media?
In all of
Man,
media.
I don't deal in absolutes. I don't have favorites. I can't even, you know. It's like I couldn't pick a parent. I'm not gonna be able to pick a color.
I couldn't either, Dad. I love you.
I'm not good with favorites. Yeah, I don't know, man. If we're talking about animes, I always liked Fully Cooley growing up. It's a good show. Check it out.
It's awesome. Anybody else have? Oh, we got.
Is it too late to get something signed?
No, I'm going back to my table after
Yeah.
this.
You're safe. In the back?
I mean, truthfully, I'd have to say Kaneki just because of the sheer amount of time I have to spend talking about doing that show. It's you know, it's a weird job. You had like one good day at work, and now the rest of your career is like talking about that time. Remember when you were really good at your job that one time? No, sorry, I'm being dark with it. But Kaneki does have a huge emotional impact on me. I went through a lot when I was recording it initially, and then the amount of time that passes between season 2 and 3 narratively mirrored the actual time that progressed, and I changed as a person, and so I'm very emotionally invested in that show, and it does mark a huge period of change in my life that I get to revisit every weekend. How dare you ask me that question? Because yeah, absolutely. Those last two episodes of season 1, very truthful moments. I mean, you know, when like Heisei like forces him to go back. I mean, the screaming, yeah, that was all cathartic, but that's mostly technical stuff. And most of the screaming was like the first take that we did because they knew I wouldn't survive that long. But the intimate moments where he's like revisiting his relationship with his mom, I mean, that stuff was like relevant and truthful and easily accessible as an actor, which is, I think, it's great when kind of fate shoves you in that right direction. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about having a career as an actor. And that's why I never say like, oh, I wish I did this or that, is when I unexpectedly end up in situations where like, oh, I'm here to relevantly express these words. You know, I think it's important as actors to address scars, but not pick open scabs. Like, don't abuse yourself. But if you've been through this and you can tell that story and you're meant to tell that story, then, you know, do it in a healthy way that doesn't ruin your voice forever. It seems that's a question.
Is there an easier or harder emotion to tap into, or is it all kind of its own individual puzzle to unlock?
I wouldn't say that there's one emotion that's more difficult than another, and like especially when you're talking about being in the booth, like actually crying doesn't help you get the vocal quality that you want when you're trying to tell the story of someone crying in an anime. Usually there's, especially if someone's crying in an anime, it's like very specific, like things that there's a lot of mechanics to that. And like getting, you know, emotionally upset, I mean, I think it helps if you have struggled with mental illness because you're dealing with extreme emotions for most of your life already. That can be a lubricant. But in general, like the thing that's tricky is being specific with the intention of the mind. And the more you invest in just really like, how would this person's, like what is the point of this person speaking, and how very specific can you get? And the thing is getting really, really emotional doesn't mean using a lot of energy. It means being very specific with your intention. Like, you don't have to, like, so there's so many ways to accomplish any goal without being vocally strenuous. And I think the art and the goal and the difficulty is in how efficiently can I do that.
Right.
Is anybody else?
But it's hard to cry on cue, especially when there's a bunch of cameras in your face. It's easy in the bathroom.
That's where I do my cry.
That's where I do all mine too. Yeah, in the bathroom, or at night in my bed. My wife's like, "What's wrong?"
Oh no. No, yeah, you're always alone in a dark room by yourself when you're recording anime. Yeah, it's like one person goes first, and then the second person gets to play off of that first person, and so you gotta, you know, hopefully it aligns. It doesn't always. That's why I always encourage people to do theater, because you can spend a period of time getting used to interacting with other humans before you go simulate that in front of a microphone.
Makes sense. Does anybody else have a question? And if not, I'm gonna release him to the back. where you can go see him still, and if you're scared to ask a question out loud, you can go back and talk his head off back there. All right. Well, I want to thank Austin.
Hey, thank you.
Thank
you guys for hanging out.
Big round of applause.
Thanks for waiting for me. Thanks for listening to me ramble.
And that masterclass will be available on YouTube. So what do we need to do? For $59.99.
You're underselling me.
Oh, that was my cut.
Oh, okay. Well, then you're being selfish. Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you so much.
I love all of you.
Well, there he is, Richard. Our last panel. One of the things I really enjoyed. So last year we did 4 panels. Not a lot of questions from the audience. We maybe had, all said and told, between the 4, maybe 8 to 10 total. And I feel like this year we had like 8 to 10 per panelist between Matt and Austin. Yeah. So like 20 plus questions total. So
yeah, 100%. Audience interaction was super up compared to last year, which I was really happy about.
Yeah, made me excited. And again, if you get a chance, Big River Comic Con and Hannibal, Missouri, they're going to do it next year in 2023. I feel like it's going to be like where it's held probably in the same place next year as it was this year. Deb is doing an amazing job with Big River Comic Con, and I wouldn't be surprised if she's got to find a bigger place in the coming years because lots of people are going there. It's, really great guests, and again, just a great time. And if you go in 2023 and you heard our show, come stop by our table. We're always right by the stage, and we'd love to talk to you guys.
Ladies doing the Lord's work.
Yeah. Unless you're coming by to,
100%.
Tell us that everybody does YouTube videos with pictures. But
you know what? Go ahead. You deserve it. I deserve it.
But Richard, what do you have for some Richard's closing thoughts, for Big River Comic Con and our panel with Austin?
Well, to wrap up the panel with Austin, I will just say that it was super awesome. It was super great to talk to him. It was interesting to get more of an insight on what it means to be a performer and an actor. And to wrap up the con in and of itself, oh geez. It was definitely a great time. The volunteers, the staff, the vendors, like it definitely has it definitely feels like a community unto its own, and I'm glad we're even a small part of it.
I agree. All right. Well, as we're wrapping up this year's Big River Comic Con, let me do a little bit of housekeeping. Visit our website, we're languageofbromance.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at languageofbro. Email us at bros@languageofbromance.com. Even take that big giant step forward for us. Join our Patreon like Wendy and Aaron.
2 of our best people, and we're not just performing.
Yeah.
That's not lip service.
All right. Was there anything else before I close her out?
No, I'm good, sir.
All right. That's all the Bromance have for this show. I'm Shawn.
And I'm Richard.
And remember, don't be a why not. Oh, I kind of screwed that up, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
I was trying to inflect.
Don't be a why.
Don't be a why. Be you're supposed to do it with me now. Why?
Why?
Not.
Not. Ready and break.
I was trying to do the inflection, high low. But I kind of ran through it.
You went Valley Girl. You were trying to go Valley Girl, and you ended up swinging too hard Valley Girl.
Yeah.
Hey, it's a choice.
It is. May not be a great choice, but it's a choice.